So today we're going to be looking at a new add-on which gives you the ability of getting new bows. As I look inside this chest, these are all the bows and arrows that you can now obtain. If you enjoyed this video, then consider subscribing as it helps out quite a bit and shows your support for the channel. Thank you! And you need to get yourself this new table which is called the Fletching Table. Now this is not the same Fletching Table that we got right now. The Fletching Table that we have in Minecraft currently, it does absolutely nothing. I place it down and I try to interact. Well, as you can see, nothing is going to happen. But this is a new table that you can craft by using 7 wooden planks in a U shape, using a crafted table in the center, and then placing a bow right on top. Then you get this new table. If I interact with this table, then this is where we can make some new arrows and where we can craft new bows. Like for example, let's say I wanted to craft a stone bow. Well, I would grab my bow, place it right in the center, place a stone on either side, and then you get yourself the stone bow. Or if you want to make the stone arrow, then you need to place an arrow right there, place 1 stone right here, and 1 feather right there. And then you get yourself your stone arrow. And as we go throughout today's video, as we go throughout each bow, you will see the recipes on the top of the screen. So let's see what the stone bow does. So the stone bow will do 2 times more damage than the vanilla bow. Next up is the iron bow. The iron bow and arrow, they will do 4 times more damage. The next bow is the golden bow. The golden bow also does 2 times more damage. We're going to look at the next 2 bows together because they do the same amount of damage, and that's 3 times more damage. The diamond bow is one of the most powerful bows, doing 5 times more damage than the regular bow. And now we're on to the bows with special abilities. The sponge bow drains water around the arrow. So if I were to go over to this body of water and I were to fire the arrow, watch the water carefully. As you can see, it gets drained a little bit. Our next bow is the miner bow. The miner bow breaks all kinds of blocks. It'll work with vanilla or add-on blocks. This could be a very useful bow when you're mining underground. Like if you want to break something that's really far away, like let's say a monster spawner, then you can just fire this arrow, then it would destroy that monster spawner. Our next bow is the Knockback Bow. Now let's say you're surrounded by a bunch of mobs, like a bunch of creepers for some reason. Well, if you end up firing this bow at the floor, then I'll knock back those mobs around you. That way they can be thrown away from you. So a very, very useful bow indeed. Our next bow is the Thunderbow. The Thunderbow strikes lightning. And luckily for us, we already got creepers around the area. So I can just fire the arrow and we got charged creepers. This one can definitely be really fun to use. Our next bow is the mini bow, which fires mini arrows. Now in terms of functionality, this works exactly like regular bow. So nothing too special about it. Besides, as I mentioned, it fires little mini arrows. On the changelog, it does state that when the arrow is a mob, it's meant to turn that mob back into its baby form. When you're trading with a Fletcher and you get on the Journeyman, he will trade you the mini bow and the mini arrows. On the Expert, he'll give you the Knockback Bow and Knockback arrows. On Master, he'll give you the Thunderbow and the Thunder arrows. So if you see a Fletcher, make sure you trade with them. Our next bow is the Magnet Bow, which is very useful for gathering items. So around this area, we have a bunch of items. And if I grab the bow and I fire it at this hopper, watch what happens. All the items will get dragged over to the hopper and they'll get sucked down. Except for that gunpowder right there. The gunpowder is being disobedient. But most of the items did get dragged inside of here. That is going to be in a radius of 12. So as long as the items are within 12 blocks, they should get dragged by the magnet arrows. The ice bow is pretty cool because this will generate a 3x3 cube of ice that will catch the mob that gets hit by the arrow. We're going to use this pig. If I were to shoot this pig, then he now gets caught in a block of ice. Mr. Pig, I'm sorry, but you gotta stay in there, or else I won't have dinner tonight. And frozen cow as well. Our next bow is the elf bow. It's basically like the yelling tipped arrows, but in its own separate bow. This will heal any mob that is hurt. Now let's say your pet wolf is very low on health. Well, if you end up shooting him with this arrow, sure, it's probably gonna hurt, but his health will go back up. And this could also be very good if you're low on health. Okay, now that's pretty cool. So it actually has a hard particle when it's going through the air. That is a nice touch. So it's more or less a Valentine's bow. Our next bow is the Glowstone Bow. Oh boy, now we're on to one of the coolest ones. Because as you're holding this bow, it will light up the area. So for this, I'm going to have to make this night. So as you can see, I'm holding onto this bow, and as I'm going throughout the nighttime, then the area will get all lit up. That is definitely a really cool feature. Too bad it don't work the same way with the arrow. And plus when I shoot the arrow, there's also no light. That is definitely supposed to happen. So hopefully that will be fixed out later on. Now we're on to a really fun bow, and that is the explosive bow.
The village shall never mess with me again. I shall destroy everything in sight.
This is a great first dream come true. Our next bow is the blaze bow. So any mob that I shoot, it will be caught on fire. Our next bow is the ender bow. Wherever this arrow lands, it will teleport the player. So very useful indeed. But you gotta make sure that you don't fire it too far, or else it may not work. If I were to get a little bit closer, then the arrow should teleport us. And there we go, the arrow just teleported us. Our next bow is the Shulker Bow. Any mob that gets hit by this arrow, they will be given the levitation effect. Then eventually, they will plummet to their doom. Goodbye. Well, he's gone. Then our next bow is the Slime Bow. Any mob that you shoot out with this bow, they will be given the slowness effect for about 10 seconds. That is slowness at maximum level. Our next bow is the Wither Bow. While it does say this is the Wither Bow, it gives you the blindness effect. No, it should not be blindness. It should give you the Wither effect, but it can also destroy blocks. That is pretty cool. But it doesn't destroy stone. And we're now down to the final two bows, which we have the Longbow and the Spiderweb Bow. The Longbow allows you to fire 3 arrows at the same time. So this is more like multi-shot, but in its own little bow. And then our final bow is the Spiderweb Bow. Now any mob that gets hit by this arrow, it will have spiderwebs generate around there. So definitely very useful for slowing mobs down. And that's going to be it for every single bow that we have in this add-on. And so far, all these different bows, they are really cool. And some of them could be quite useful, but some of them could be quite destructive. Now I think my favorite ones have got to be these 4. The magnet bow is extremely useful just for gathering up quantities of items just in one central location. The miner bow would be very useful for when you're mining deep underground and you want to mine something that's far away. And the Thunderbow, I just picked this one because it's just really fun to strike lightning on mobs. Then obviously the ender bow is going to be very useful for when you're wanting to teleport around the world with ease. But with all that being said, go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comments on what you think of this add-on. If you guys enjoyed today's video, then please let me know by leaving a like on it. Subscribe if you're around here. And for now, I will catch you next time. Goodbye.